The decisions I made at 18 changed my life completely. I think in Denmark there's still there is racism. Been there, I understand what internationals go through. What I give is a more practical approach. It's not just theory that I give, and I think what I also give is relatability. I've been in really dark places.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Take us back there.
Yeah, well, we'll say that I didn't want to keep going anymore. That I just wanted to be like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with life. I love my husband, but I can't keep up with the pressure. Like, we're never fully happy. When I get to this point, I'm gonna be happy. If I'm a millionaire, I'm gonna be, but even if you become a millionaire, you're not gonna be happy. You're gonna want more. Happiness is having meaning in your life. And for myself, my own happiness is helping other internationals with their job searching, getting them to the point and helping them with their own happiness or meaning in their life to get a job.
This is Denmark Real. I'm Omar Ahmed. With me is Kate Dahl. She is a job consultant for internationals in Denmark. Kate, you are also a motivational speaker. You have a study in European studying, and you can tell me more about that in a bit.
Yeah.
Welcome to you, Kate.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. Can you tell me more about your study and what you are doing?
Yes. Oh, so to clarify, you mean my studies from the past?
Yes.
Or yes. So to go a little bit about my background, I'm an American, and I lived in Germany for 6.5 years before I came to Denmark. And then, I studied European studies. And also, you were asking me about what is European studies. Well, it's say that a million times, interdisciplinary study of sociology, political science, economics. It's a little bit of magic of a little bit of everything. So it's like, just put it in a pot and be like, yes, put it in there. That's basically, yes. Cake. It's actually, that's what it is. It's like, it's a recipe. Like, it's a recipe of like a little bit of everything about Europe and studying that. And the idea with European studies is to be able to take that to go into working at NGO, working at the EU Parliament, political science, making the Europe a happy-go-lucky place, basically. And then, life did not go exactly as planned, as it never does in my case. And then I met the love of my life, and during my studies. And funny enough, and then I came to Denmark and been here for 4.5 years teaching. I've been in sales. In the last 4.5 years. And then, it didn't work out as much because I got many jobs in Denmark, probably more than the count of my hand. I can't remember at this point. So a lot of them. And then, and how I came about what I'm doing now is because I remember, this is actually an interesting story. I remember sitting at Læredansk. And I was just sitting there and talking to her about my current job and blah, blah, blah. And then a few weeks later, I told her, I lost my job, blah, blah, blah. And then like a month or a few weeks later, and I was like, and then I got a new job, like within really quickly. And she told me, Kate, she's like, I'm so jealous of you, because she's like, I've been looking for like a year and I've been trying to find something. She's like, how are you good at what you do? Like, how are you able to get a job after you just lost it? And then I started to realize that, wow, I really do have a gift of like helping people and teaching people, and because I was also an English teacher in Germany before I came to Denmark, and that's how I also supported my studies at that time. And so then I was inspired by someone who said, you really need to do this as your own business. I was like, no, I'm not a businesswoman. I don't want to do my own business. Like, I was honestly scared. I was really, really scared to do it. And then after I lost another job, I was like, okay, well, I can look at it as two different ways. Yeah. I could look at it as half full or half empty, and I decide to look at it as half full because there are people who do struggle, and that's what I teach is I help people in how to communicate their value to Danish companies in a Danish cultural context. I never guarantee anyone a job, but I give them tools. And that's what I do is I teach different job search strategies based on my life experiences and getting a job. So that's my very long answer in a nutshell.
Yeah, because what do you see as a difference between the US market where you came from
Yeah.
and Denmark? Why do you see the need of doing something? What is the difference?
I think, well, there's a lot of differences, and I think you shouldn't think of it in a perspective about just the U.S., but it's about the world, and like I think Denmark does it so much differently than the rest of the world. Like in the United States, of course, we have the history of the melting pot, right? And we have come from so many different cultures and so on. And there's a affirmative action, which is like you can't take one person over another based on your ethnicity and so on. You can't have pictures on your CV because you might have faced discrimination. It's just a different way of communicating in the United States. Whereas in Denmark, you have like personal profile and your picture, and you need to be a lot more personal. Whereas in the United States, it's a lot more about the professionalism part, and that's I think the balance or the struggle I think a lot of internationals face is that they don't know how to balance between being professional and personal. Because wearing this when I'm right now to an interview for most companies would be fine to wear most of the time. Yeah. Whereas like if I were to wear a suit, it would be like, whoa, like that would be way too much. Usually, it depends on the company. Like if you're, it depends on a lot of the company cultures and so on. And I think in the United States, like it's just a different way because I mean America is also more accepting of like it is a multinational culture, so to say, United States. Whereas Denmark, you only experienced multiculturalism since the 70s. Like, since the refugee crisis. And it's such a new idea and phenomenon in Denmark to have internationals coming to work in Denmark because it's such a egalitarian monoculture. And so it's true, it's true. And I think it's becoming more so and more so like that. But I think the big difference is that Denmark is still learning and grappling how having internationals being here and how do we deal with this and how do we accept and live together, so to say. So I think that's the big difference even when you're looking and applying for jobs, is that I think people miss the they tend to forget that it just doesn't fit in one shoe most of the time, that you need to have the communications aspect and knowing how to communicate in different cultures. Like if you, like the CV in Denmark would never work for the United States. It would be like too personal,
Too modest, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, too modest. Yeah, law of Jente is a good one. No, but really, that's a big part is like, and that's the big part of juggling with job applications is you need to remember law of Jente. And it's so difficult because in the United States you have to brag and boast and you have to, you have to show you have to not only show, but you talk about the achievements and you want to be, you want that pat on the back, whereas you have to, I know for myself, I had to hold back a little bit because if I bragged or boast too much, then they would just see that I'm full of myself and they want you to be more quiet and they want you to, they want you to they have to come to you and not vice versa in giving praise. And that's quite difficult culturally wise, I think.
It's totally different. Yeah.
It is.
It is.
It is.
I have some friends in the US and they brag about themselves and talk, and it is. I understand that, but it is totally different than mine.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's not the same at all.
Nope.
So, the work culture in Denmark.
Yes.
What can you do to improve that? What is it that you feel that you can do to help internationals, or?
Right.
What is your process?
My process. Well, I think what I bring is actually a small piece of the puzzle to a bigger problem. And I think, and that's where I want to go with Career Denmark at some point, is to be able to help with the intercultural communications on both ends. Because I think the big problem right now as well is not only internationals in getting a job in Denmark, but it's all, or working, but I think the big what's really missing is the intercultural communications, or lack of it thereof, or not having the proper training. Let's take the United States. It has the culture. The culture of multiculturalism has been around for a few hundred years, and within the last 100 years, or even maybe 50, 60, 70 years for that matter, they have now implemented like how you behave in the workplace, or like HR. I mean, Denmark has that too, but it has more of the intercultural aspects in communication, and like how you communicate with different cultures is not just about personality. You have to think about the cultural aspects as well. And I think Denmark is kind of starting to realize it, but it's not there yet. And I think what is really needed for someone to keep a job in Denmark no, but I'm serious. Yeah. It's serious. It's about having the intercultural communications aspect and having the proper training to do that. And that's what I bring. Is right now, yes, I do teach about helping international with in getting a job, but it also has to come from the other side and the other perspective of being for Danish companies to be a lot more open to hire internationals. There are some companies like Vestas, Grundfos, like big companies like even Lego. They hire internationals as well, but I think it could be bigger and it could be better. For them to be open, because right now Denmark really needs people, really needs a labor force. And I think it's not only the communications aspect, but being more open to hire internationals, or being more accepting, because they're very structured in saying this is the way we do things. Like, you have to have a personal profile, you need to have a headshot, this and this and this. And I think it's about them being more open to different ways of how to do things, like CV, cover letter, and so on, because we all have our different cultural aspects and what we bring to the table. And I think it is about being more open to hiring internationals.
But how about experience? How about because I was at VIA actually earlier today to ask a few questions, and some of them are aware actually. One of them told me that if he wanted a job after finishing school, that he should learn the language, because this will help him a lot. And but his questions were actually how they can learn to be more social, how they can learn to work with other people in companies, how can they learn to be more cooperative. And
that's also what I'm doing. Is it's not only CV and cover letter. It's about how you communicate and how you not only make the call for like a job ad, but also how to network. I think that's a very important aspect. And yes, I do agree with that. The language helps you increase your chances of getting a job. I'm saying it's not impossible. You are taken more serious when you have the language and so on, but it does depend on the field that you're going into as well. So but I would encourage him with the Danish aspect. And that's the other part of what I want to do with Career Denmark, is to bring in this idea of network recruiting. And the idea of network recruiting is a way to help with bringing the idea of being, internationally friendly, sexy. No, but really. So being internationally friendly is saying, look, we hire internationals, and we pride ourselves as being an open company and a multicultural company, and we hire many people with different backgrounds, because we as internationals, we have so much value to bring. We have intercultural and interpersonal communication skills. We have teamwork. We have, we can also be independent. We bring a different idea to the table, or a different perspective that the companies have never thought of before. So what it does is it enriches the company cultures as well, or to help enhance productivity, or an idea, or another perspective, whatever it could be. So the idea of network recruiting is a way to bring that I would, for example, that I can do an event, for example, give a talk to give some value, because it shows that you, like when you give a talk or about value on something, it shows that you care about the population as well, or the internationals. And then they can give a tour of the company and talk about the company. I would help organize it, so on. And then they can already start recruiting at that process. So they can already, like when you promote, you can do specific job ads and show and try to get those specific like people to come, like the internationals who are already here. And then the companies are able to look past their ethnicity and see them for what the value that they really can bring. Not only the value of that person, but also that they just look past their ethnicity and see who they are as well, and the value that they can bring, and have that interpersonal. And there's a story as well. A woman that I've worked with. She's from a country in Africa, and she's married to a Danish man. And she was really struggling in her job search, and she has a Danish last name and everything. And I said, you know what? I said, take out all the other languages and take out your picture. Think of it as like underground, like journalism, and see what happens. And she was offered an interview, and it's like shows that, I think in Denmark there's still a lot. There is racism in Denmark. It's bold word choice to say, yeah. But I think there is, especially in recruitment, and that's the idea with network recruiting, is that it helps companies be able to look past that and see them for who they are as a value. And that's what I hope to help students at VIA or wherever. Yeah. So with knowing how to network and get past, being able to meet companies, and that it'll become easier for companies and internationals to be in that space. So that's what I hope to do, but we'll see. Yeah. So.
But one of the guys over there, actually, he said that the universities prepare you for the job market. And they do that by always having group work and the way of studying and way of project working over there. It prepares you for the market.
Yeah.
So how can you add to that?
In regards to like at the career services, or like in their...
If the universities are doing the work, the job that you are doing, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Because they are preparing them, according to him. According to him, they are preparing them for the job market by helping them being more social and work with others.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that the universities aren't doing that. I mean, there are, and I think they're trying. I'm just, what I give is also just a different perspective, so it's a different way of doing things. And maybe I am doing the same thing as them, who knows? Like, I mean, but really, it's just, I like to think of it as like, they're the cake, right? VIA is the cake, and they have a base. And what I am is like the frosting with the sprinkles on top, right? Because I give another perspective. Like, I've been there. I understand what internationals go through. Like, I've had different jobs. I've gotten jobs based on networking. I've gotten jobs not with applications. I've gotten jobs based on LinkedIn, unsolicited applications, you name it, I've done it. So it's not me just saying like, oh, I've worked in HR and now I have, I can teach you how to do that. What I give is a more practical approach. It's not just theory that I give. And I think what I also give is relatability. And I think that's what is really missing for a lot of internationals. And it's good to have a Danish perspective. Don't get me wrong, I think that's very important. But I think it's also important to be able to give another voice or another opinion on the matter. And I mean, I have a track record, so I know what I do works.
But what I liked, actually, one of them said that they take sustainability into consideration. They are taking sustainability and green energy, and he have thought about that when he is choosing his future workplace. Yeah. He already knew that this company and this company, he would love to work for those because they do this and this for sustainability and our planet. So I love that. I like that actually.
Yeah, and it is good for students to think about the future
Yeah, be
and where
more
they
aware
want to
of,
go,
yeah.
aware of the future. And it's, but also it's not only about being aware of the future, but being aware about being open to go into a different area that you never thought of before or studying. Because I think that's also a big difference between the United States and Denmark. Is like United States, when you go to university, they're very, very upfront with you, saying that what you start of doing with your studies, you might not actually use the degree that you studied. You can actually take that degree and have those transferable skills in another area, because it just looks good to have a degree and a university degree. So in that sense, it doesn't matter. Whereas in Denmark, I feel that it's like if you don't have that specific degree, then they're not willing to have you, for example. Because let's take the example, I was an English teacher for 4.5 years. I don't have a degree, but I was able to do that in Germany. But in Denmark, it was just so bloody difficult to do that. So then that's when I reinvented myself and was in sales and just started to do sales. And I was surprised that I was able to get a start here in Denmark without having a degree, because some jobs I was denied because they're like, oh yeah, you have all this experience, but you don't have a degree in sales. I was like, why do I need to have a degree in sales? You know, you have to have, you know, it's more important to, you know, to have certain skills than having that. So I think what students need to be aware of is just being more open to the idea, or just being told that, you know, up front that you might not end up what you're going to be doing in the future with that. And I think Denmark is not as upfront as that about it as the United States. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So opinions are relative at the end of the day, you know. So
because I actually want to have one more question from one of the students. He was asking about which cities should he look into to find more work. He talked about that Horsens is getting bigger, and that's lovely. And but could the answer also be that it is based on his profession or on?
What, do you know much about his profession and what he does specifically? Did he tell you?
Yeah, then one of them is ICT and
No.
engineering also.
Because that's the answer is the question. The answer to that question is it depends.
Yeah.
It depends on your field. It depends on, like, you know, where what your background is, and of course, if I would say, of course, in Copenhagen your chances are much higher because it's the capital, and there are a lot more opportunities, and also especially within like sustainability, it's like in the Aarhus, Horsens area, it's big. You know, so that's what I tell students as well, is that, or internationals, is that you need, when you take your degree and you have to think, okay, where do I have the best chances? And then if he wants to go and like work in Copenhagen, he should consider to relocate to Copenhagen. Because maybe this is where you can correct me with Danish culture as well, but I know from my own husband is that he's such a homebody. He's such a mama's boy. I mean, really, such a mama's boy, and that's great. I love that, you know, Danes love their mothers and like their families, and it's mostly close knit. But they're so like into their location that they think, oh, because I'm not willing to relocate, then you must not be willing to relocate either, because I'm not willing to. Because it's a culture of assumptions. They like to assume a lot of things. And that's what I would also tell students, that if you are really set on going into one area, then you should be at that location, or at least say in the application that you're willing to relocate and really stress it. But they will take preference from people who already live in that city than before you. So that is something to consider. Everything does depend on everything. It's not a clear-cut answer like that. So
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I go into the story of how you find your? I have a phrase that you wrote actually. I find it funny. It is. It was like I could see that he could be a hot version of Einstein under the dark goth of makeup.
Yes. My husband, how I met my husband. Yeah. So we have to go back a little bit from when I was a teenager. My friend we call him Knud. He was an exchange student at my high school years and years ago when I was 17. And then I came to Europe and Germany and then Denmark, and I was studying in Flensburg, and my best friend Knud, he was studying in Aarhus. And then he invited me to Festelauda. And yeah, it was kind of a bad time in my life because I was kind of the second choice to this guy, lawyer that I was dating. And he was like, well, maybe I'll come back to you if it doesn't work out. And I didn't want to deal with it, my feelings at the time, being like a second, I don't know, a second-hand cup or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So then I went and I was like, oh yeah, it's just an excuse to be sexy with my little black dress and James Bond girl, whatever. Like it was just an excuse to like look hot, basically. Yeah. And then I went to this party, and then he was dressed up as a goth, and it was kind of what I because it also something I really related to my childhood, because I was a goth when I was a kid, like with the black hair and the long pants. You remember like those long baggy pants with like the chains and stuff? Like I used to be one of those kids. And and I saw him, and then when I found out he was a physicist, I was like, okay, now he's the hot version of Einstein, you know? And I decided to make that exception for love at first sight, because not only was he really cute, but he was really smart. He's really intelligent. He's very caring, very giving. He's just a wonderful person. Actually, we just had spent Valentine's Day. Like the first time, I only hinted. We never celebrated Valentine's, but I hinted it just this once that maybe I would like to spend Valentine's with him. And he surprised me with flowers and chocolates, and we've been together for almost 8 years now. And married for almost 3, and he still makes my heart flutter.
I can see it.
He does, and he's still a hot version of Einstein. I really hope that doesn't change. So.
Yeah, just keep feeding him books and.
Oh, you haven't seen my apartment. There's like tons of books with shelves and stuff. He will not let those books leave.
It's good.
Like, yeah, he loves those books. He's like, if you burn one of them, it's like, it's the holy sin. Like, you can never burn a book. Like, never get rid of a book. So, yeah, our apartments are full of books. So.
Knowledge,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the best day in your life?
Wow, that's really tough. Because I would say I have more than one, but if I had to choose, it would have been meeting my husband, Magnus, because he changed my life. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be having the life that I'm having here as well. Like I owe
because
so much
you were on the way to China, right?
Yeah, I was.
You just changed direction and.
Yeah, I was about to accept this job. Yeah, I was about to accept a job offer in China, and then that's when he invited me to come move in with him, because I think he was so scared of losing me. Yeah. But that's understandable. I mean, if I went to China, it would have been over. Like it would have been probably over. It's really hard to have that type of long distance relationship as well. And I mean, it's one thing if you go from Flensburg to Aarhus, doing the commute like that. But it's another thing if it's like Aarhus to China. That's another story there, But it is. When I met him, it just changed everything. And when I met him, I knew. I just knew. It was kind of weird. Like I met him and I knew, like that he was that person.
You're mine.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm not possessive. I don't possess him like that. I mean, he's his own man. Yeah. But
You just in love.
It's crazy, right? Like 8 years.
Beautiful.
And I love this man to death. Yeah.
This is your best day.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Moving on to something different. What have you learned the last 2 years that excited you the most?
Oh my God. Even within the last year.
Yeah.
Has been, I would even do it like in a year or two. Like it's hard to do 2 years, but like I would say the last year, it's really been doing my own business, doing Career Denmark. I mean, you have to do, like, I've learned so much. Like, I've learned marketing. I've learned, it's not only with sales. It's about taking responsibility. It's like taking a baby and watching it grow and develop, and you have to help shape it and you have to mold it. And that's what it is when you start a company, right? Like, you start like taking care of it, and you feed it and love it. It's like as your own child. And I think when I started having my own company, I've learned so much and grew so much, because even last year when I lost my last job, I was in a really dark place, and I thought, this is like the end. Like, I thought, like, there's no way, like, I can't, like, I didn't know what to do. But then I remember thinking back from my friend who is like, you need to do what you're doing now. That's when I realized, like, I need to do this and have it. And I've learned so much, like, about social media and developed as a person, and realizing myself about value and worth, and that it's when I tell internationals that they have value and worth when they're like for a job and so on, then I need to do the same for myself. And that's why I do what I'm doing now, is I gave myself so much growth in the way of more about self-respect, like self-love, self-compassion. And also...
So what does all those mean for you? To have self-love and...
Yeah, it's, for me, I think it's about being kind to yourself, I think that's something I still struggle with, but I've learned to be better at.
Is it because we are too harsh on ourselves?
Yeah, I think so. I think for a lot of, we allow other people and ourselves, we create barriers for ourselves because other people, they try to plant the seed to create those barriers. And then we start to accept those ideas. Like take the example of Danish, right? Don't get me wrong, I think it's very important to have Danish. But I think when you're kept told, well, you don't have this degree, you can't do this. Or if you have, if you're not fluent in Danish, you can't get a job. And at some point, you kind of start believing certain things, and you kind of get into your own self of, you start being harsh on yourself a little bit. And I think that's where it started with me as well, because I studied Danish, and I tried to get different jobs to be with my husband. I've done everything to be with him. That's how much I love him. Like, I've done so much to meet the visa requirements. Yeah. So it's not just simple about, oh, you're getting married and then all your dreams come true and you're here in Denmark forever. That's not how it works. Just because you're married to a Dane does not mean that you're guaranteed to be here at all. And that's really was the big struggle, like, for myself. And I think part of my growth within the last few years of learning not to be harsh to myself and not letting people define me. Not letting people define me for who I am or whatever. And that I really, for me, I've learned to let go and be happy, I think. I've never had that before, because everything was about, meeting the requirements, doing this, and giving so much, like, it's interesting because I love one person so much, but I needed to learn how to love myself a lot more. And I think that's, if anything, that's what I've learned in the last few years, is so that if I'm able, I need to love myself so that then I'm able to, like, love other people and love doing what I do and having a passion for that and loving my company, so yeah, that's what I've learned.
What does passion mean to you?
What does passion passion means where I get up in the morning and I'm so excited to be on this podcast, for example, or not a podcast, video interview, whatever you want to call it. Getting both fine. Getting up in the morning and saying, I'm doing this post today. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make this course, or I'm gonna do an ebook. And be passionate means that I get up in the morning and I'm excited to start a new day, because I know what's coming and I know what I need to do, and it's what drives me. It's what motivates me.
Is it because you had something to compare it to? Was there times where you had difficulty getting up? Was there times where?
I've had depression. I was diagnosed with depression. And there was a point where, after having all these different jobs and whatnot, I've been in really dark places.
Tell me more about that. Take us back there.
Yeah, well, we'll say that I didn't want to keep going anymore. That I just wanted to be like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with life. I love my husband, but I can't keep up with the pressure. And I thought that at one point he would be better off without me at some point.
That's tough.
It is. Yeah. Because it was so tough just like meeting all these requirements to be with him. And I think it was like about the job, it was about the language and this, and it literally ran me down into a deep, deep depression. And I didn't want to get up anymore. And then I realized, after a lot of therapy, we'll call it a lot of therapy. Take it at that. I started to realize how much that for me to like get up in the morning, it wasn't so much about a job anymore. It wasn't about wellness, or wasn't about if it was about like it was okay for me that I need to be selfish for myself and be happy for my own self. So I think that's when I decided, like, look, like I got up and I realized I could stay in bed and I could just live my life and like not want to get up today, but I am going to try to get up because there is someone that loves me and there is someone who like out there that I could help in some way, and that I could make a difference in someone's life in one way or another. And I realized that maybe it's selfish to say that I want to be happy. Like, I am happy when I help other people find their own happiness. And I think that's also part of why I do what I do, is because people also associate having a job to happiness. Because but at the same time, we're never happy, right? Even I talked about this with my husband. Yeah. We talked about how we're never fully happy with where we are, or never content. We always want something more. We always want something more, right? More with the business, more with this, and say, this is, when I get to this point, I'm gonna be happy. If I'm a millionaire, I'm gonna be, but even if you become a millionaire, you're not gonna be happy. You're gonna want more, or you're gonna want something different.
So what should we do?
It's about learning how to be content. And I think that's what it is for me. Like, that's what was my struggle as well, to when I got up and said, today I'm getting up for my own self and not letting anyone define me. And I am going to do what makes me happy. And what is that? And for now, my happiness, or my meaning, actually what it is, I think that's what happiness is. Happiness is having meaning in your life. And what is that meaning? And once you find that meaning, that is true happiness. And for myself, my own happiness is helping other internationals with their job search and getting them to the point and helping them with their own happiness or meaning in their life to get a job, if that makes sense.
Is it more about fulfillment?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us have jobs that we think we are passionate about, and we're not fulfilled.
Right?
Yeah.
It should be about fulfillment and being happy. And that is my fulfillment. And I want other internationals as well to have their own fulfillment. I don't want them to go through what I went through as well. And that's why I tell them, like, you also need to do what makes you happy. And I think, or being fulfilled, or having meaning in your life, you know? And I think that's my meaning in my life right now. But that meaning in life can change, and that's the beauty of the meaning of life, like life of, well, now I'm thinking of Life of Brian, but, you know, and I think your meaning in life can change. And
that's okay.
And that's okay, because that will change. Like 5 years ago, I thought my meaning in life was to be this is going to sound silly, to be vice president in sales in a company one day. And that was my meaning in life at that time, and that's what I wanted. But then I realized, no, like, that's not meaning in life. Like, that's not my meaning, but everyone has their own different meaning. You know,
change, we grow, and usually we just want to stick with that one meaning we had from 8 years ago.
Right.
We change. Every year you have new thoughts and new ideas, and every time you meet someone you change, and your perspective becomes more wide.
Or life changes, like, you know, being pregnant, like getting married, or, you know, getting promoted in a company, whatever it is, getting fired for a job, exactly.
It's like you have to just take an action.
Yeah.
You're not just wait.
Yes, and that can change your meaning of life completely, and that's the thing, like, I cannot help other people find their own meaning in life, and that's my limitations in helping people. I can help with the tools and so on, and I've actually denied people who wanted to do coaching with me because I realized that they had such deeper issues, and I realized there's no way I said I can't take you on, and they're like, well, you know, I'm willing to pay you and blah blah blah, and I'm like, that's not the point. I said you need to have your own fulfillment or happiness and deal with these internal issues that you're having because otherwise it's going to affect you in your job, your life. And if you don't find that meaning and what drives you every day, then what I'm going to give you is not going to help you. You know?
Because they will still be unhappy,
they'll be
unfulfilled, chasing the next thing.
Yeah, and they'll be stuck.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And then they're going to just not be happy. Yeah, just not be happy. Dark stuff, man.
we have to go there.
Yeah, we just had to go there. Yeah.
Because it's part of life. It's part also that to show that everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
We all go through that.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where I think should I continue with this or should I continue with that? Because we get this doubt, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I mean, even today, I was also like, I have doubts about that all the time, but it's okay. Like, for me, it's just about just keep going and doing it, and just doing it for as long as you can, if you're able to.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And when you don't enjoy it for too long, probably think it again, maybe.
Exactly.
See what you can do.
Exactly.
And you also try to reinvent yourself, as I read, and this is good.
Yeah.
It's good to work on ourselves and see how we can improve ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I do. I do help people with how to reinvent themselves, but it has to come from their own happiness, and that's where you need, like, if you need a psychologist or a coach or life coach, whatever, that's another area that I'm not able to deal with. So, but yeah.
What does it mean for you to be your own boss?
What does it mean to be my own boss?
Because this is it, right?
Right?
Career Denmark is like being your own boss. You have to take care of everything, every aspect.
Right.
Like you said, it's like a baby.
Yes.
Yes, and there's many things unpredictable.
Yeah. What does it mean to be your own boss? I like that it gives me freedom, responsibility, growth, meaning of life. In my case, and it's that's what it. Oh, and a lot of work, a lot of energy. But I think a lot of people underestimate. I knew coming into this that it was going to be a lot of work. I knew that, but I didn't know how much work it was going to be. It was a lot of work. Yeah. It is. But you know this too, like everyone, like if you have your own business, it is, you have to, and also I think being your own boss is meaning to be kind to yourself and being patient with yourself too. Yeah,
and those around you also, because not everybody can work at the same pace, same speed, same way. It's like,
no.
Figure out how you work and how others work.
Exactly, and I also like yesterday I was working my ass off because I had to I'm launching my website, my new website today, and I also had coaching and all this. But then I decided, you know what, later in the week I'm going to take one day because I know that I'm going to need to breathe. as well. Like, really. So I've decided to take my day later in the week for when I need my day off. So it is, you do have this freedom, but you also have to remember, okay, well, if I do this, this is the consequence. Like, if I do this, this is the consequence too. So it's about also about awareness, I think.
Yeah. Making the right choices, or at least try out.
Yeah, but it's also about accepting your own choices too.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, because I've also made bad choices with the business and wondering if I should do this and the partner and with someone and work with blah, blah, blah. And I was wondering, oh, is this really good? Should I really do this? You know, and it was sometimes the wrong choice, or maybe not the right place or the right time for it. You know, maybe it was something I should think later down the road. But and it's about learning about timing, about everything, and I think that's what it is. But really, it's something. It's an experience I'm really happy to have. But that it's also about accepting that if this doesn't work out, that it's okay. You know why? Because I've grown. I've learned leadership skills. I've learned marketing. I've learned about social media. I've learned how to, also networking. I mean, meeting you know, I have all these opportunities I would have had if I was doing a sit-at-home desk job, you know, so.
Yeah, because building a company is a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a great experience. I love it, but hey, it's tough.
It is tough.
Be ready.
Yes, you have to be, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's not. You have to really have the drive and the motivation to do it, but also
there's some days where it's just tough, and keep on going.
Yeah, if you want it enough badly, you'll get there.
Yeah. What makes you smile?
Wow. What makes me smile? My husband. I have to say it. I have to say it.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I have to say it. My husband. But really, he's the person that I can be my whole self with.
Yeah.
That I can be vulnerable with. That I can who I can talk to, who I have that with.
Is that important for you?
I think so. I think for me, he's just there. He's been my biggest supporter. And it's interesting because I remember talking to him, telling him, over the weekend, thanking him for allowing me to be able to do what I'm doing now. But he's like, why are you thanking me? I'm like, well, because you do so much and you're supporting, and allowing me to feel the financial burden. He's like, no, he's like, I'm not supporting you. He's like, you're doing this all yourself. He's like, you help as much as I do with, paying the bills, or, if you want to go out to eat, you pay your half, it's very Danish independent, but he had to also remind me that, it was interesting because he's so humble, he's so Danish, and saying that, that he had nothing to do with, and it was all that my success, what he considers my success, is all on me. And I had to think about that, because for me, I feel like I owe so much to him, because I would have never done this without him if I wouldn't have had someone who was there to support me. And he does. He makes me smile, even if he tells the worst corny jokes. He makes terrible corny jokes. Seriously. And then I laugh. He's a scientist, yes. Oh yeah, no, a hot Einstein scientist, by the way. So, yeah, he does.
If I was a genie, what would you ask for? That means there is no limitations.
If you were a genie, or if you're, or a genie in general, I think if I had a genie with 3 wishes, I would ask to be able to have my courses be all over Denmark. For example, I would want, I would want to feel, but that's the thing, right? I already talked about being contented, but I want to even be more contented about being happy, and we're never happy with all that we have. I would say it's the courses. That would be one of the courses. And I have 2 more, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh my God. Now this is hard. My courses, my talk, that I'm a motivational speaker all over the world as well. and that I would be given the power for people to listen and to hear me and to take me seriously.
Yeah.
I think, because I think I am to some degree, but I would like it to be more so.
We want more of everything.
We always want more. We're never satisfied, ever.
That's good.
The
That's
irony.
good. So would that be success for you also?
Yeah, I think so. At least that would be my definition of success.
Yeah.
But that's going to change once I've reached it. I'm going to say that's not success, and then it'll be like something else.
That's normal.
That's normal, right?
Yeah.
So.
A need that is satisfied is no longer a need.
Exactly.
Or a want is not.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. If you have the opportunity to go back to the age of 18,
Okay.
what would you change?
Wow. If I had to change anything, I don't know if I would change anything, to be honest. That's really, really tough. The decisions I made at 18 changed my life completely for the better. Like the story of when I left at 18 with nothing but my backpack, I was 19 to Denmark, and before that, where I had to stand up to my father because he did not want me to come visit my friend Knud in 2007. And then when he threatened to kick me out of the house. Yeah, that was a tough decision at 18 years old to know, like, I knew that if I went to Denmark to visit my friend from high school, that it would have, I knew that changed. Because let's say if I would go back and let's say I changed that decision to do what my dad said and not go to Denmark, I would be probably not happy. I would probably be married to a pastor with 7 kids and probably not having a degree or anything. I would just be a stay-at-home mom. Probably.
Why?
Because that's where I come from.
And why?
It's no, because I come from a religious family, and I think that's part of the dream that I think that's also part of what my father's dream would have been, that I married a pastor and stay-at-home mom and 7-8 kids and all this, Yeah, it's a lot. I have family that have that many children, so it's like, whoa, it's baby factory over there. But I think, but that's the thing, is I chose the decision to go to Denmark, and because of that, I was, I wouldn't, you can call it kicked out, whatever, but I had that decision changed my life forever. Where I needed to realize that I needed to get out of a toxic environment to go, and I came to Denmark and to visit him. That was all my money, by the way. That was my own money that I raised up. And then I didn't know what to do. And then I applied to university, and I got a full ride scholarship to Central Michigan University. And that's why I wouldn't change anything, because I've learned so much, and I would have had such a different life. I wouldn't have had an education.
You wouldn't have your husband?
I wouldn't have my husband. I wouldn't have my life here in Europe. I would be in Michigan, praying to the one God, or whatever you want to call it. I would have been completely unhappy. And I know this. I would have been miserable. And or it just would have been a different life. But I think I would have really regretted not going to Denmark. And I think that would have been my biggest mistake. So that's why I wouldn't change anything. It's because it made me who I am today. Yeah. So.
Kate, how can people reach out to you?
LinkedIn, my profile, on my email, info@careerdenmark.com. Facebook Messenger, on Career Denmark page, and that's how you can find me. So.
Yeah, because you can help people get into the market, and they should look forward to that.
Yes, for sure. That's the plan, or at least. Yeah, that is the plan. So, that is the plan.
Kate, thank you very, very much for being here with me.
Yeah.
It was lovely to hear about your story and your knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me. It means a lot to me, and I've also talked about things I've never talked about before. So I'm happy to have shared it with you today.
Yeah. I'm honored, really. I'm honored that we went a bit deeper.
Yeah, deeper than we thought it was going to be. But sometimes it's important to talk about these things because I think a lot of people feel like, especially when you're job searching or where you're in a place, I think people see as like. I think it's okay. I want people to know that it's okay to feel sad, and I think it's okay to feel how you feel, and to give yourself that space.
We're humans, and people watch those Instagram and Facebook glamorous pictures, and it looks so perfect.
But that's the thing. Is like I'm also I feel like that's where I'm different from different influencers.
Yeah.
Is like I'm not perfect. I've had depression. I've had struggle of having a crazy family. I know that I have a better relationship now, but there is strain in that way I think they're better at accepting my life, but it was years ago where I didn't talk to my family for like 7 years because they couldn't understand where I am like today and why being
normal,
here.
Actually.
Yeah.
That is normal because they were raised like that. It's totally different culture, totally different time, different generation also.
But I think, and that's where I say that some people are born a certain way, and I was just born liberal or more intelligent. I don't know what you call. I'm not being humble right now, but it's the point. I think is that I had the strength to get out of it, and I think the point of what I want to bring to people is to show that you can also have the strength too, and that you can also, if you feel that you're in a place that you're not able to get out, that you can get out, and you just need to reach out for the help, either professionally to a coach or to a mentor, or maybe you need to learn tools and learning how to communicate your value, whatever it could be. Like, you need to reach out to people, and I think that's the most important thing. If anyone to take anything today, is
find a way.
Find a way, and to not let people define you. Don't let them define you, and that you need to value yourself. Yeah. That's what I want people to take away today.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
Yes, thank
so
you.
Lovely.
Yes, thank you so much.
You too. Good?
Yes.